I came across a video that I thought was kind of interesting. The title was kind of interesting, and so I clicked on it. And this news source that claims to be Christian is sharing about Passover and Easter. An all-inclusive message is what's in their title. An all-inclusive message? Passover is not inclusive. Passover is exclusive. So let me explain to you what Passover is, because Passover is not the same thing as Easter, and their claim is that Passover is for Jews and Easter is for Christians. How do you all feel about that? Oh, Passover is for Jews and Easter is for Christians. So Christians get to be worldly. Christians get to live according to the world. This is what's being taught in counterfeit Christianity, that all of that burden of observing God's holy days is placed on ethnic Jews, because counterfeit Christianity doesn't understand what it actually means to be a Jew. What it means to be a Jew is that you are a Jew inwardly through circumcision. Even Gentiles who've been engrafted into the commonwealth of Israel through faith are Jews now, which means they're required to do the same covenant, to observe and obey and live into the same covenant that God has extended to ethnic Jews or to ethnic Mexicans or ethnic Chinese. There's no Jew or Gentile in him. There's no male or female in him. There's no slave nor free in him. This goes for all those who want to be called God's people. Do you remember that John the Baptist said to the Pharisees, "You brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from the coming wrath? And don't say that we have Abraham as our father. God can raise up children for Abraham from these stones." God has never delineated people based on race or ethnicity. He has delineated people based on who are his and who are not. What use does he have? Does he favor one race over another? He created all of us. He does not favor one race over another. We are all required to fulfill God's covenant and his law. And he writes that on the tablets of our heart and mind, and he moves us by his Spirit to follow his laws and keep his decrees. Now, no one should be confused about the parts of the law that have been fulfilled. Food requirements, for example, there's no clean food or unclean food, because that was established in order to understand the difference between Jews and Gentiles. But Christ said to Peter, "Don't call anything unclean that I have made clean." So when Christ was sacrificed, he extended salvation to the Gentiles. And he spoke that to Peter because Peter had been afraid of the uncircumcised group. And then Peter understood, oh, okay, this has been fulfilled. That's why this had been established, the clean from the unclean, so that I could understand clean food from unclean food. And then that would lead me to understand clean people from unclean people. A nation set apart for God versus those who are not. The idea that you can celebrate Easter and just call it Passover is ridiculous. First of all, God has laid out very specific requirements on how to observe Passover, and not that there's a rule for this and a rule for that, a little here, a little there. You don't treat it like that. You obey what he has established, and you pursue the importance of that to God. Pursue his heart and understanding why has he established these things in this way. But as I've mentioned to you in other videos, the way that the world observes Easter or any other worldly holiday is very different from the way that God has commanded us to observe his holy days. There's good reason why he has said things like your new moon festivals and these celebrations, even your fasts, are detestable to me. I am weary of bearing them. They burden me. I hate them with all my being. Oh, in all that time that you were fasting, were you fasting to me? These are the kinds of things that he says in the word. And why is he saying that? He's saying it because people are pretending that they're celebrating to him, but you're not celebrating to him when you're observing as the world does. He's told you what he wants you to observe. He has not included Easter or Christmas. Easter, where you're, think about this for a minute. And this does not mean that we're still observing sacrifices, but he has told you specifically how to observe his Passover, which is to eat lamb. And on Easter, you're eating ham. That has historically been a defiled sacrifice. Even the menu is designed to disrespect him. But this is a holiday of the world, and it was a celebration of the spring equinox for the pagans. It's celebrated by Wiccans and is the holiday Ostara. Ostara was a fertility goddess who was celebrated by the growth of new life. This included the growing of trees and babies. And the way that counterfeit Christianity tries to connect this, listen to this. The connection between Jesus Christ's resurrection and Ostara's focus on the growth of new life is quite similar. So they're trying to justify it. The name Easter also comes from Ostara. Ostara is not a forgotten deity in mainstream culture. She's become a staple in the new TV show, American Gods. Do you guys get this? Like, do you get what we've been celebrating? What we've been taught to celebrate in counterfeit Christianity? This is so disgusting. And it's not the way that God has called us to celebrate. And I want you to remember what he says in the word when he says, oh, were you celebrating those things to me? I hate your festivals with all my being. I'm weary of bearing them because you've been celebrating them to yourself. He warned people in the Bible, don't do this. Do not celebrate in your flesh. Do not indulge. You need to celebrate and observe in the way that I have commanded. And who are you celebrating them to? You're supposed to be celebrating to him. So you don't get to do that with lip service. You don't get to go celebrate a bunny that lays eggs and call it Passover or say that you're celebrating that to Jesus. How could you possibly say that? Or Christmas, which is a celebration of the birth of the false god Mithras. God has told you in Leviticus 23, in Numbers 9, in Exodus 12, he's told you how he wants you to observe his Passover. And if you're not observing it and you're not familiar with his word, how can you know what you're celebrating? How can you know your covenant? Because his holy days reveal his covenant, reveal what he expects from us. Many of you are going to hear this video this may be the first video that you hear on this channel. I really encourage you to listen to the other videos on this channel regarding Passover. I posted many of them from last year to this year. And above all, I really encourage you to pray. If you've been observing Easter, and this is the first you're really hearing about Passover and what it means and how you should be observing it, read Numbers 9, read Exodus 12, read Leviticus 23. Pray and return to God. Ask him, what have I believed? Search my heart. Pull deception out of me, Lord, and then pursue God's truth. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.